First of all, I'm shocked. She asked him, what do you think of Trump if he was watching this? And he says, well, I have a lot of respect for Trump. He's worried about his people. That's a drug dealer saying that. He wasn't an addict. He took an Adderall that he got off a friend that was laced with fentanyl. And this Adderall, sometimes these kids take it just to stay awake in college, to do their exams and all this kind of stuff. He took that darn thing and collapsed in the bathroom of my home. A piece of fentanyl the size of a grain of salt can kill you, and kill you within 10 minutes. These people don't care who they kill. They don't care. They're worried about the money. That's it. 100,000 people are dying every year in the United States from opioid overdoses, and these opioids contain fentanyl. Do these kids understand how deadly this is? Why isn't this being taught at a young age? Why aren't they being scared straight at a young age? Why are we spending money on other nonsense when this is saving lives if we can educate these people, these young people at a young age? This has to start. Hey everyone, welcome to another Sit Down with Michael Franzese. Hope everybody is doing well. All is very good, very blessed on this end. As always, my friends, I give all the praise, honor, glory, and thanksgiving to our God for that. But today, I have a subject that's it's very painful for me. I have to say this, and it's about drugs. But I got to talk about it, people. This is very, very interesting. I hope all of you pay attention because it affects so many of us in this country, of course, around the world, but here in the United States. I hate anything to do with drugs. I've had, personal heartache over it just recently in the last 3.5 years. My daughter's boyfriend, he collapsed in my home, fentanyl overdose, or fentanyl poisoning, I should say. Let me be clear on that. He wasn't an addict. He took an Adderall that he got off a friend that was laced with fentanyl. And this Adderall, sometimes these kids take it just to stay awake in college, to do their exams and all this kind of stuff. He wasn't an addict. He took that darn thing and collapsed in the bathroom of my home. Hate anything to do with drugs. My sister, 27 years old, dies of an overdose. Broke my heart, of course. My young sister, my baby sister, my brother, 25 years a drug addict. I can't even begin to tell you what the family went through, me personally, just trying to keep him alive. So anything with drugs, and I've seen so many people go down because of drug overdoses, drug addiction. It's just horrible. We need to do something about it. So I'm going to talk about it today because this is very interesting.
My friends, I know something about having power. Whether it's on the streets or in the media, it's all about who controls the narrative. And right now, the mainstream media is trying to control yours whether you realize it or not. I've been using this platform called Ground News, and it's completely changed how I look at the news. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Remember the Hunter Biden pardon story? How can we forget it? It was everywhere. Well, over 1,000 news sources covered that same story, but watch what happens when we compare headlines from the different outlets. You see how each one spins it differently? That's what makes Ground News different. They're the only platform that lets you see exactly how the media machine works, and yes, it is a machine. They break down the political bias of every source. They show you which stories are being buried by different sides, and this is crucial. They expose who actually owns these news organizations, and that makes a difference, a big difference in how it's reported. In today's world, you can't afford to be in the dark. Ground News gives you something invaluable, and that is the ability to see through the smoke and mirrors and the gaslighting of mainstream media. Right now, you can get the same tools I use for half price. Just go to ground.news/MF or scan this QR code where you'll get 40% off their premium Vantage plan. Come on, that's less than a cup of coffee for the same tools I use to stay informed. With everything that's happening in our country right now, so much going on, you need to see the full picture, not just what they want you to see. So don't wait on this. Take control of your information today. You want to be in the know the right way? Get to Ground News. It's an offer that you shouldn't refuse.
A young reporter from CNN, not my favorite network, but I give her a ton of credit for doing this interview with a cartel member of the Sinaloa cartel in Mexico. She actually went to Sinaloa and spoke to this cartel member. And he was anonymous, you know, he had a mask on, everything else, you know, God forbid he gets caught talking to her, he's probably dead. You know, they're vicious down there. They don't play games, you know, they don't play, you know that. But this was a terrific interview, so I want to react to it because it's things that you should know, because this affects everybody. For parents, when we hear it about our children, it's heartbreaking. We have to do something about it, people. So I want to bring this out today. Now, let me tell you about the Sinaloa Cartel. Let me read something before I get into the article, and I'm gonna react to it. The Sinaloa Cartel, also known as the Guzman Loera Organization, the Federation, the Sinaloa Cartel, or the Pacific Cartel, is a large drug trafficking, transnational organized crime syndicate and U.S. designated foreign terrorist organization based in Culiacan, Sinaloa, Mexico, that specializes in illegal drug trafficking and money laundering. The cartel's history is marked by evolution from a small crime syndicate to one of the most powerful and violent drug trafficking organizations in the world. Founded in the late 1960s by Pedro Avilas Perez in Sinaloa, the cartel initially focused on smuggling marijuana into the United States, and then it grew. Perez is credited with pioneering the use of aircraft for drug smuggling, laying the groundwork for large-scale trafficking operations. His organization was a training ground for the second generation of Sinaloa traffickers. Throughout the 1990s and 2000s, the Sinaloa cartel, under the leadership of figures like El Chapo Guzman, significantly expanded its operations. And now it's the biggest, I believe, drug cartel operating in the United States. It was bigger than Pablo Escobar's Medellin cartel. So it's a huge cartel, and there are cells of this cartel within the United States right now. We're going to get into that. But let me get into this interview because it's very, very interesting. CNN's Isabel Young traveled to a secret location in Sinaloa, Mexico to speak with a member of the infamous Sinaloa cartel, and I'm going to play it for you and react to it.
What's your message to Donald Trump?
Mi respeto, ¿verdad?
So we've just entered an area of the city that is still very dangerous. After weeks of trying our contact here on the ground, has managed to secure a meeting with a member of the cartel who's involved apparently in the production of drugs. ¿Cómo estás? This man is talking to us on the condition we hide his identity and location. Can I pull up a chair? He says he produces fentanyl for the Sinaloa cartel. How safe or dangerous is this area to be in?
En estos momentos todas las áreas son peligrosas.
He specifically produces fentanyl for the cartel. Now, they know this is a very dangerous drug. Why fentanyl? It's cheap to produce. I understand if it doesn't kill you, it gives you a better high. Now, I'm a novice at this, but this is what I've been told. It gives you a better high if it doesn't kill you. Now, understand that a piece of fentanyl the size of a grain of salt can kill you, and kill you within 10 minutes. That's how drastically it works. This is a horrible, horrible drug. But hey, they're interested in profits there. So if they can produce this cheap, lace it in some of the opioids that they bring in, and increase their profits when they sell this, they're going to do it. These people don't care who they kill. They don't care. They're worried about the money. That's it. Let's continue.
En estos momentos todas las áreas son peligrosas.
I mean, according to the Trump administration, you are a terrorist. I mean, the cartels have been labeled a foreign terrorist organization. What do you make of that?
Está fea la situación, ¿verdad? Está fea la situación, pero pues de todos modos tenemos que comer.
Now, do you hear what he says? She tells him that, you know, you're a terrorist organization according to Trump. You're designated as that now. And what does he say? He said, it's an ugly situation. He said, but we have to eat. Now, I want to say this. There are a lot of poor people in Mexico, a lot of poor areas. And I understand sometimes you got to do what you got to do to put food on the table and feed your family. But you're killing people. Now, is it self-preservation? Hey, it's either you or me. So right now it's going to be me. You want to buy this stuff? We're going to sell it. It's on you. It's not on me. I guess that's how you justify this. But he said the situation is ugly.
What's your message to Donald Trump if he's watching this?
Mi respeto, él tiene que que según él buscar lo mejor para los suyos. Pero el detalle es que ya están los consumidores, ¿no? Si no hubiera consumidores, pues uno le parara.
That right there. You know, he just nailed it. He just nailed it. First of all, I'm shocked. You know, she asked him, what do you think of Trump if he was watching this? And he says, well, I have a lot of respect for Trump. He's worried about his people. That's a drug dealer saying that. But yet you get progressives on this end that won't say anything about him shutting down the border. They won't say anything about him designating the cartels as a terrorist organization. They won't say anything about him going to war against that so he can spare people, you know, their lives here in the United States. They don't say anything about that. But this is a cartel member saying, I have respect for Trump because he's taking care of his people. But then he goes on to say, but hey, the biggest consumers are in the United States. If they weren't there, we wouldn't have anybody to sell to. He just nailed it. He just nailed it. People, that's the problem. You know what? Education is what it's all about. These kids in our school, instead of giving them sex education at 5 and 6 years old like these crazy people on the left want to do, and talk to them about changing their genders when they're 5 and 6 years old, what they need to learn about is the horrors of drugs. That's where the money should be spent. Why? Because 100,000 people are dying every year in the United States from opioid overdoses, and these opioids contain fentanyl. Do these kids understand how deadly this is? Why isn't this being taught at a young age? Why aren't they being scared straight at a young age? Why are we spending money on other nonsense when this is saving lives if we can educate these people, these young people at a young age? This has to start. This is what I would tell Donald Trump. Hey, Donald, you did the right thing. You closed the border. You stopped this stuff from coming across as best as you possibly can. You're offering the military to the president of Mexico, and I got to talk about this. He recently told the president of Mexico, look, the United States will give you our military to help fight these cartels because he now designated them a terrorist organization, and we could use our military. And she refused. She said, no. I don't want your military within the borders of Mexico. And you know what? I get that. I'm not upset with her for that. I get it. It doesn't look right. It doesn't appear right. I think the people in her country would go crazy if she accepted that. But she did say, you know what? I will accept all the help you can give. Other than that, she does want to fight the cartels, and I believe she does to a degree. But she doesn't want the military there. So I get it. I understand it. You know, that's a touchy situation. And I'm sure, you know, she wouldn't be received well by her people if she allowed the military, the United States military, to come within her borders there. I get it. But she does want help. And Trump is doing the right thing. Why aren't they talking about it? We have to stop this problem. It's killing our young people. And how many people that don't die are addicted to this garbage? We have to do something, people. Trump is on the right track. Let's continue.
There is a lot of violence playing out on these streets here at the moment every day, right? I mean, people are dying on a daily basis. Children are afraid to go to school. Do you have any sense of remorse over your role and your involvement in this group?
Claro que sí, creo que sí. Pues está triste la cosa, pero pues está triste la cosa, pero.
You know, she points out there that there's violence in the streets in Mexico also, violence in the streets in the United States. A lot of it is because of drug use, you know? And he said, look, it's sad. Things are tough. We get it. But there again, I think in his case, he's saying, hey, you know what? Self-preservation. I got to eat. And this is the way I'm going to do it, you know? And I'm sorry. You know, he says he has regrets. He says he has remorse. No justification for being involved in something that's killing innocent people. But there again, in his mind, he says, hey, if you shut the market down, if you people don't want it, then we won't be selling it to you. We're filling a demand. You want it, we're selling it to you. I understand his justification, even though he's dead wrong. But hey, self-preservation. So what do we as a country have to do? We have to shut it down. But here's the thing. There are Sinaloa cartels operating within our borders. Why? Because in the past 4 years of the Biden administration, they came into this country. We know it. The head of the FBI said it. We all know it. The head of Homeland Security, I don't even want to think of his name anymore. He didn't do anything about it. Biden didn't do anything about it. And the Democrats didn't do anything about it either. People dying in this country over drug overdoses, and they're allowing it to happen. That's the truth. Nobody wants to hear it. You think this is politics? This is not politics. This is life and death. Why should there even be the word politics involved in that? It's common sense. We don't want people dying in this country. We have to stop it, and it has to be stopped at the borders, and that's what Trump did. But you don't hear the left saying anything. Ask yourself that. Why? You allow immigrants to come into this country, drug traffickers to come into this country. You don't say a word when people are dying. In 2024, only 88,000 people died from opioid and fentanyl overdose. Only 88,000. The year before that, it was 100,000. The year before that, 105,000, I believe. Those are the stats. Innocent lives lost because drugs are pouring into the country and they're getting hooked. So what do we got to do? Again, shut the border down. Trump did that. Designate them, the cartels, a terrorist organization. He did that so he can fight them more effectively, at least within our borders. And third, educate our young people. Forget all this garbage that they want to try to push on them with gender changes and all of this stuff, and teach them about drugs, the dangers, the horrors of drugs. That's how we save lives. That's it in a nutshell. You don't have to be a rocket science to understand this. If kids knew how horrible this stuff was, they wouldn't get involved in it. We need drug education in a big way. Nancy Reagan, remember? Just say no. Well, now we have to take that a step further because it's gotten so out of hand. And this fentanyl is just horrible stuff. We got to do something about it. And Trump is on the right track. Like him or hate him. Give him credit when it's due for saving kids' lives. A drug dealer giving respect to Donald Trump, and people here on the left can't do that when he's trying to eradicate drugs here in our country. You figure it out. Yeah, I get angry over this, people, because again, this is very close to me. I get angry, and it's close to so many people. I guarantee just about everybody, or most everybody listening right now and watching this video knows somebody that has a drug addiction or probably has a death. My son, Michael, tells me that 11 or 12 kids that he went to school with have died of fentanyl overdoses. To high school. This is my son, and we live in a good area. It doesn't matter whether you're in the ghetto, they call it, or whether you live in a high-rise apartment in Manhattan or anywhere. Beverly Hills, doesn't matter where. It's afflicting everybody, and this needs to stop. I give credit to this woman, reporter that went into Sinaloa. It's risky. And of course, to this guy to even sit down with her, I hope they, that he camouflaged himself well enough because, if they even pick up his voice, this guy is dead. No doubt about it. These people don't play. They don't play. Let me tell you. So people, what are we going to do? I'm telling you what to do. You support any effort by anybody, whether it be Donald Trump, anybody on the left, if they ever come to their senses and stop talking nonsense and go after the right things like this, preventing drug overdoses and drug addictions in this country. Whoever is going to do it and do it, legitimately in the right way and really mean it, support them because we need to eradicate drugs in this country. We have to do it. And if China is producing that fentanyl, and we know they are, and they're processing it through Mexico and then carrying it over across our border like they did for 4 years, 4 years, allowed it to come into this country. These people should be ashamed of themselves. They have blood on their hands. That's it. You want the truth? I don't hold back. That's the truth. They got blood on their hands. We got to stop it. People, I'm telling you, my wife told me, make sure you don't rant over this, but she knows how, close this is to me and how sensitive a situation and a topic is. I hate anything to do with drugs. So I just hope that Donald Trump really gets a hold over this in the next 4 years and does whatever he can do to get rid of these cartels in this country. That's it, my friends. How do I always leave you? Same way. Be safe. And part of being safe, get rid of the drugs. Be healthy. Stop drug overdoses. Stop drug abuse. Stop taking drugs in any way, shape, or form. And yes, God bless each and every one of you, your families, your friends, your neighborhoods, your communities. Get rid of the drugs And God bless America. See you next time.
My friends, if you enjoyed this video, I'm going to give you an opportunity to become my partner in business. Franzese Wine experiencing tremendous growth over the past couple of years, and we're going to experience even further growth in the next few years. You're going to have an opportunity to be my partner because you've been supporting me, you've been my fan base, and I want to share this with you. So go to invest.franzesewine.com, and offer you shouldn't refuse.